So recently I got what most people would call a happy ending from a male host, and it was probably one of the most awkward, weird, terrible sexual experiences I have ever had. Now, before your brain runs wild, let me tell you this. This video is not gonna be about shock value. It's not gonna be a graphic story time or me telling you like, hey guys, look what I did. It's gonna be more about why I did it, why it was so disappointing, and what it taught me about how women experience pleasure differently than men. And also why so many women are low-key craving these type of experiences, but are weirded out, hesitant, or shy to actually try it. Now, if you're new here, hello, my name is Ali. Welcome to my channel. And on this platform, we have some casual conversations about sex, relationships, and other fun stuff. I'm actually a sex education student with the Sexual Health Alliance, and I love coming on here and sharing with you all the interesting things that I am learning. But what I love most is trying things, I'm curious about stuff, and sharing my real life experiences with you all, even if they're not super great like this one. I try to share from a place of experience and not expertise, because you know what? At the end of the day, we are all human. And while sex can be incredible and fun and connecting and human, it can also be incredibly awkward as hell, weird, confusing, disappointing, and yes, sometimes very traumatic. And I think we all deserve spaces where we can talk about these things a little bit more honestly. I want to be clear and upfront though, I'm not going to be sharing the full experience here on YouTube. I actually did a real-time immediate reaction on my Patreon. If you're curious to hear about all the cringe details, then you can click on the link below this video and check out my Patreon. It's also a great way to support my content. If you're curious and you want to connect more with me, definitely check it out. All right, let's talk about why I actually did this. The idea just didn't pop into my head one day. It wasn't random. It actually stemmed from an experience that I had in Prague last year on one of my sexy school trips with the Sexual Health Alliance. And we attended a live BDSM workshop with this man who branded himself as some kind of like tantric masseur dom god. He was sexy. I mean, he wasn't my usual type physically, but after seeing what he did, I was like, yes, please, you can touch me. You can do anything you want to me. And the session was basically this BDSM masseur massage kind of tantric mix of things where he showed us how to conduct this type of work, you know, consensually, respectfully, showing us the balance between domination and submission, power and softness and aftercare. And it was one of the sexiest things I had ever seen in my entire life. At the end, every woman in that room had their jaw to the floor, drooling, like asking for appointments on how they can see this man. He was booked up. No one was able to see him, but maybe I'll book a session with him this year. And what made that experience so incredible was not the sex or the orgasm, which by the way, they didn't have sex or orgasm. That wasn't the point of the workshop. It was all about power dynamics and touch and sensuality and showing the balance between submission and domination and senses and so on. It was all about his presence and his slowness. And as I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, I don't need an emotional connection to this guy. I don't need to know his whole life story. I don't need to fall in love with him. I was just so turned on and I wanted him now. I wanted this man to touch me and I was just ready to do like whatever he wanted to me. And this kind of unlocked something inside of me. It was like, ooh, this is a kind of pleasure that I feel like I can respond well to. So when I decided to try this more structured service, this is kind of what I was hoping for. Also, keep in mind, I have already participated in many types of erotic massages with my partner. So I have a little bit of experience with this and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna give a man a try and see if it's a similar kind of experience. And you know what? Maybe my expectations were a little bit too high. So let's get into the experience of why it was so disappointing. So I went to a spa that I've already been to many times with my partner, so I'm familiar with it, I'm comfortable there. So I reserved a massage for myself with a man, and I actually reserved a separate massage in the room next door for my partner with a woman, so he could have a little fun too. The vibes were off from the get-go. As soon as he entered the room, it just felt very awkward. Not dangerous, not traumatic, just awkward. There was very little communication, no guidance, and definitely no check-ins. I kept finding myself leading the session instead of relaxing into it, which is not really the goal when you're literally paying to be taken care of. At one point, I had to redirect things multiple times, and at one point, I just said, you know what? Let's just abort this mission, shall we? I tapped out of the happy ending part and just asked for a regular massage instead. So no, there was no dramatic climax, sorry to disappoint you. Just me lying face down thinking, wow, this is really not what I expected. And what stuck with me was not even the lack of pleasure, was the total lack of attunement. And that's the part that I feel most inclined to talk about, because it felt so freaking awkward, my friends. You have no idea. And as someone who's pretty comfortable in my own body and in sexual situations, I kept thinking about how this might land for someone who is really insecure and vulnerable. I just want to be clear, I'm not anti-erotic massage. I'm not anti-male practitioners. I mean, I'm actually on the hunt for some good ones because I believe that you are out there and that women could genuinely use your services. And I'm definitely not here to drag anyone down. I actually wrote to the spa with constructive feedback because I want to make these spaces better. But no, I never heard back from them. And yes, the very full, very cringe, immediate live reaction is on my Patreon. If you want to check it out, I'll link it below because some things are just a little much for YouTube. But the takeaway here is that good sex and good erotic services isn't always about rushing to the outcome. It's about presence, communication, and actually reading the person in front of you. At one point, I literally just took my client arousal hat off, put my research hat on, and I was like, all right, I'm here for the data, I'm here for the research, I'm here to report back to my ladies. And after that experience, I was like, damn, is this the reason why women don't seek out professionals? Because it's just disappointing AF. I mean, when I was done the massage and I went into the lobby, I saw my partner sitting there and he had a nice, happy smile on his face. He had a great time. And I was like, why? Why did I have such a terrible time? And it was so easy for you to just go in there and have a great time. It was a little frustrating, I'll be honest. Now, let's break it down to why women may not necessarily seek out sex work. When we're talking about orgasm specifically, especially in the context of happy endings, it is pretty orgasm goal oriented, right? That's basically what a happy ending is. And there is a lot of research that shows that men orgasm far more consistently in partnered encounters than women do. Something like over 90% for men and somewhere between 60 to 65% of women. And that gap gets even wider when we're talking about situations that are purely physical or transactional. And when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. For most men, sex is goal-oriented. So physical stimulation alone often does the trick. But for many women, pleasure is very contextual. It's about safety, pacing, anticipation, nervous system regulation, and feeling attuned to. That doesn't necessarily mean that women need romance and love, that's a myth, but it does mean that presence matters way more. So when sex work is designed for quick release, efficiency, and performance, it works wonders for men. But for women, not so much. This is why men seek out sex work at much higher rates and usually walk away feeling pretty satisfied. They're getting exactly what their body responds to most easily. Women, on the other hand, need something a little bit more subtle. Not necessarily emotional bonding and falling in love, but being seen, felt, and responded to. And when that's missing, even a technically successful experience can feel really empty. Now, there's this idea that women need an emotional connection to enjoy sexual experiences. And yes, sometimes that's true. My last video was actually all about, if women need an emotional connection to have sex. I would definitely check it out. Also check out the comments because there are some very interesting points of view in there. But I want to be really clear here. That was not the case for me. When I was in Prague and I saw this experience, I wasn't thinking that I needed a story, relationship, romance, or love. I just wanted him, and I wanted that experience. I wanted to feel met and desired in my body, and let me tell you, I was ready to give myself to him. So I don't think the issue is emotional connection. I think it's the quality of the presence. For example, that happy ending experience that I had with that gentleman, had he been a lot more charismatic, a lot more skilled in making me feel comfortable in my body, I'm sure it would have been a completely different experience. And here's the part that I really want to land. Pleasure doesn't always need to be about sex or orgasm. For a lot of women, pleasure lives in touch, slowness, anticipation, presence, and feeling regulated and embodied. So when experiences skip all of that and go straight to the goal, women often feel like something is missing, but they can't really explain why. Now, I'll tell you, I did not have an orgasm in that happy ending. Okay, spoiler alert, not surprised. But going into it, I wasn't necessarily looking for the orgasm. It would have been nice to be touched, to be massaged there and really get into my body and feel pleasure. But I wasn't looking for the goal. I just wanted to feel good. I wanted to make me feel relaxed. I actually have another very funny story that I share on my Patreon about a recent experience, not my own, a friend of mine's. It could have been my own, but it didn't get that far. But we went for a regular massage at a regular place, what seemed to be in Mexico. And we both had this male masseur, sorry. And one of us ended up getting a happy ending. Wasn't me, but it was close to happening. And in that moment, I was feeling so good in my body. I was like, you know what? If he wants to go there, I'm gonna let him. Very different experience, that one versus this one. I actually will do a video about the difference between the actual happy ending service I paid for, which was a lot more expensive, versus the unexpected happy ending that I almost wish happened but didn't. Now we're sidetracking here. So maybe some of you in the comments are gonna say things like, well, you signed up for a happy ending, so that's what he was trying to give you, which I can understand. But I think that there needs to be some kind of services that are branded differently for women, because that is not it. Like, I don't personally know any woman that would go into a situation like that and enjoy herself. Maybe they would click better with the host. Maybe that was it. Maybe we just didn't vibe. I highly doubt that's the case though, because if we're talking about like technical skills, he definitely did not have them. So there's definitely a difference in terms of, I guess, sexual erotic services for men versus women. And yeah, it's not surprising because we respond to different things. I'll give you another little example of how different it is. So in 2007, the Prostitution Information Center decided to do an experiment where they put male sex workers in the windows, because as you know, in Amsterdam, you have the visible windows where sex workers stand in the windows and you can, purchase services from them. But they decided to replace all the ladies with the men and see what happens. The purpose of this was to challenge the perception of the red light district. What ended up happening was there was kind of like a circus. Like, people were just staring and laughing because it was so uncommon to see, male sex workers in these windows. It kind of became a joke and didn't really take them seriously. It didn't last too long, obviously, because it was taking work away from the female sex workers, but it got discussions going as to like why this isn't very common, right? And when you think about some things like the turnover with male clients, as I mentioned, men tend to orgasm 90% of the time and they have a quick release. So when men purchase these services, especially in the windows, they go in and they're paying for an hour of service, but then, they finish in like 10, 15 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. So they don't use the full time sometimes. And so women just make more money because there's more of a turnover. But when you have a man offering sexual services to a woman, when you have a time cap of an hour, it makes things a little bit difficult because it takes woman, again, the presence, the attunement, the slowness, the touch, the connection, all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot longer for women to feel comfortable and aroused and potentially get to a point of climax. So the session ends. Women just need more time, you know what I mean? And we can't feel rushed. That's one thing why I don't always really like orgasming and happy endings. I usually never do because I don't like being on the clock. It just goes to show the difference between men and women in terms of how we receive pleasure, especially in a more transactional type of way. That doesn't mean to say that women aren't interested in paying for some kind of erotic service. I polled a group of women in a community that I'm a part of, asking them if they would pay for a service like this, like how I described in Prague, like this big sexy man, coming in and just sort of massaging them and taking care of them. And again, it's not orgasm or sex oriented. It's not that. There's none of that involved. It's more like touch and presence and surrendering and submissing and getting back in touch with your body and connecting with someone. And they all said yes in big capital letters and exclamation points. But then it was followed with, I would love to do this, but I'm a bit shy and I would only do it if like a girlfriend came with me or something like that. So why? Why do women feel shy or hesitant to partake in some kind of erotic service? Well, first reason, stigma. Women are still judged way more harshly for pursuing pleasure without attachment. So a man doing this is seen as normal, but a woman doing this is seen as excessive, desperate, or taboo. The second reason is safety and vulnerability. So women are socialized to be cautious around men, especially in private spaces. Even when we want the experience, our nervous system is still like, is this safe? Which, I will be honest, is a little bit how I felt in that situation. I was so excited to try it, but I was very nervous. And the third is internalized messaging. So many women are taught that pleasure should be earned, mutual, or relational. Not something you just go out and get for yourself. So even when the desire is there, the hesitation totally makes sense. Now, this experience did not turn me off pleasure or attempting to try another experience with another man. It just clarified the things that I value more. And women don't necessarily need more access to sex. We need more access to intentional, embodied, and respectful pleasure. And if that's something we can purchase, great. It's been making me think about opening up some kind of female client only spa, no like extra services, so no sex or extras or things like that, purely erotic, sensual massage touch where you could really surrender, submit, connect with your body, connect with someone else, feel good about yourself and your pleasure. That sounds so sexy. Anyways, if you think that's a good idea, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure you have lots to say about this video. It is an interesting topic for sure. And again, if you want to connect more with me, then you could check out my Patreon down below. And that's it, friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Je vous aime.